Good evening. This is Ken Spencer. I've been asked to judge your contest this month. I am a color printer. I've done all my color printing, first from 4x5 color negatives and in a wet darkroom, and now inkjet prints. I'm 6 times past president of the Fort Worth Camera Club, where I've won Master Print of the Year 11 times. I'm going to start with the novice category, and the first print is called Window. The closed contest subject for you this month was Decrepit, Broken, and Ruined. Window is a nice print. It scored 9 points, but the contrast is really high on it. It almost looks like it was taken by moonlight just because of the high contrast. But it scores 9 points, and other than the super high contrast, it's really a pretty nice print. The second print is called Seen Better Days, and Seen Better Days scores 11 points. It's just a straightforward shot of an older house. The wire fence in the foreground actually, I think, adds to the picture and gives it a little bit of depth. I think, though, that there are other angles that you could have taken this house, maybe cropped differently or found a different location to make it less than just a straightforward photograph. The next print is entitled Doors, 12 points. Each and every one of these doors could have been a fantastic print in its own right. Every door is really interesting and is well exposed. Somebody went to a lot of work to create this, but I think it would have scored higher if you'd picked one of those doors and printed it as a full-size print. This may be a case where less is more. Our next print is called Independence Gold Mine. It's a great composition. The depth of field covers it from the foreground to way in the background. There's a lot of interesting things to look at. It's a very well composed print and nicely printed. It only scored 13 points. It would have done a little better had it not been so super saturated. I think it's saturated a little bit too much. But other than that, really interesting, nice print job. The next print is titled Rusted, 13 points, third place, by Catherine Moulton. Composition is really nice. The colors are nice and kind of subdued on it, but that's the way the scene probably was. The only thing I think could have improved this print is to burn down the dark areas right at the top. They're not really too distracting, but they're right on the edge. I think burning them down would have helped. As it is, it gets 13 points. The next print is Wagon Wheel by Alan Daniel, and it scores second place and 14 points. It's really difficult to get a close-up subject like this where everything is sharply in focus. This one does it. So it's a nice composition. He put the hub of the wheel near the sweet spot of the photograph. It's sharp throughout. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner and the hub, things tend to get more of an orangey rusted look, and I'm assuming that's because it's reflecting the orange from that rusty rim is inflecting that orange light up into the wheel itself. But a really nice job, and I really liked it. Second place and 14 points. First place is Abandoned Diesel Gas Station. The more I looked at this print, the more I liked it, and this is a case where less is more. You look around this and everything is nicely sharp. The print job is just outstanding. The lighting on it is really nice, and it certainly fits the closed subject very well. It's really an outstanding print. This brings us to the intermediate group. The first print in the intermediate group is entitled Winter in Silver City, Abandoned. The composition is good, the contrast is good, but if you get very close to this at all, the whole thing is just soft. I mean, it's not only unsharp, it's really soft, and that's why it only scored 9 points. Next print is called Gone to Seed, 9 points. I kind of know where you're going with this. It's artistic, but I don't think there's enough there to make it really qualify for the closed contest subject. So I gave it 9 points. Next is Agony of Defeat, 10 points. It's really sharp, and the exposure is really good on the little Dr. Scholl's bottle here, and at the bottom exposure is great, and they're very sharp. I gave it 10 points. I think it needs to be cropped differently. You've gone to a standard size crop, it looks like, and it's got too much black at the bottom and too much black at the top. So I think it would have scored a little higher had it been cropped differently. Cute idea. Next print is Broken. Broken scores 11 points. It's a nice composition. It's well composed. I might like a little bit different angle, might make it more interesting, but there's nothing technically wrong with it. I just think there's more there than you found in this particular shot. Next is Succumbed, 12 points. It's very nicely printed and it's nicely composed. And though I feel quite certain you may have been looking up to get this, and yet you kept the verticals vertical, and the color is very nice on it. And it does truly fit the close subject matter. It's a nice print and it's well done. Next is entitled Greenville, Texas. It also scores 12 points. It's a very nice composition. It's printed a little bit dark, but the composition is very nice. I wish it were printed just a little bit lighter and it would have scored a bit higher. Next print is A Home is a Home. It's 13 points. Honorable mention. It's by Jack Huang. An excellent print quality. It's sharp, and the dog really adds to the image. In fact, without the dog, it might not have made honorable mention. 13 points. Nice job. Third place is Unrestorable by Aaron Lesher. The colors seem right. The light was nice and soft. What put it over the edge was the fact I can see detail in the springs under the fender. It just has very good detail in the shadow area and the hotter areas. It's just well done. Second place is Retired in Field by Walter Brock II. Second place, 14 points. Everything in here, everything you need to see is sharp. The out of focus background and the shallower depth of field help separate the tractor from its background. Exposure is really, really nice. It has this nice warm light because it's, I'm pretty sure that's an early morning shot, but early or late. The late light really helps an image, and you know, some of your best images are taken early and late with that kind of light. First place with 15 points is entitled Two Mums. It's by Nancy Mack. It's just gorgeous. It's cropped as a pano. Everything you want to see is there. The colors are great. The lighting is great. The lights on the glassware is super. I can't think of any way to improve this image. And it's got 15 points, and it's also best in show. This brings us to the advanced group. The first print is entitled Canning's Done. I love the composition on it. It's very nice, but it's printed too light. I think if I were to print it a little bit darker, add a little bit more color saturation to it, and printing it darker would bring out a lot of the details here that are lost. Next print is entitled Raphael, 1918. It scores 11 points. I love the composition on it, but it's just so super saturated that I had to score it down for technical reasons. But the composition is very nice. The light on it, even though it's a hard time of the day, the light is very nice. It's sharp where it needs to be, just that the saturation brought the points down. Honorable mention is this was where the big gun was. It scores 12 points, and third place. You look through the window of this wall, and everything down there is very nicely exposed and very sharp. The wall, I would reduce the contrast on this wall just a bit. It's hard to get your eye past that high contrast, high saturated wall to see the city through the window. But a nice print, and it scores 12 points in third place. Second place, entitled Mausoleum in Recoleta Cemetery by Carol Barlow, and it scores 13 points. You were stuck with kind of flat light on this, but you did a good job, and you've got the verticals vertical, which to me is always important if you can. When you can straighten the lines, it's really nice if you do. It's got good detail even in the shadows and the iron and the door. Even the little lock is very sharp on the door. The only thing I might have done, because of the low light, I might have dipped the contrast up just a tiny bit, but still a very nice print, and 13 points. First place and 14 points is Broken Window, Broken Room. That's by James Walsh. A great find, and it certainly fits the closed contest subject very well. It's well composed, and it's really sharp as a tack. If you look at the little light bulb on the floor at the bottom of the window, you can see detail in it. I mean, it is very, very sharp. It needs a little punch, and I'm not sure. I knocked it down 1 point. You might try a little bit more contrast and a little bit lighter. Sometimes that'll give it just enough punch. A little saturation might even give it some punch. But that's all it needs, and it's a very nice print. And it's 14 points and first place. This brings us to the Masters group, and the first print is called Broken Spirit. It scores 8 points. If you get closer to this print, you'll see there's been a lot of work done on it, and I'm not sure what's going on, but the face has had a lot of work that hasn't improved it any. Also, in the body, there's a little odd work, but the face is pretty much botched up by the amount of work that's been done to it. The second print is Out of Business. It scores 9 points. It's a pretty nice print, but I don't think it really applies to the closed subject, Decrepit, Broken, or Ruined. So that's why I scored it down. It would have scored better on an open contest. Next is Old Log Cabin. Also scores 9 points. It's a nice effort, which didn't quite make it. You need a little more exposure to bring out a little more stars, but what really throws this off, the cabin is a little dark, but it's way off color. I don't know what you lit it with, but it must have been a kind of an orangey light. I thought, well, if it is just a flashlight, you need to color adjust and make the cabin look a light like it does, maybe a little brighter than it does here, but also color correct it. All Alone, 9 points. From a distance, it looks really nice, and from a distance, I like it, but if you get very close at all, you see there's nothing in the image that is anywhere near sharp. The whole thing is really, really soft. And this nice composition, and it's well printed. It's just too soft for my liking. It got 9 points. Next is Abandoned Texaco, Jefferson. It's well printed. It's well cropped. I like the composition, very nicely composed. It got 10 points. I don't really know how to improve it. I wasn't wild about the presentation, but I'm not going to count off for that. Left Out to Rust, 10 points. I wish you hadn't had the rear fin touching the edge of the mat, but that's the least of its problems. It's just too pink. I think the car was pink, but the ground is pink. There's too much pink. I would have color corrected this a little better and tried to keep all the car in the frame. Next is Catskill Charcoal Kilns. Colors are very nice. Exposure is very nice. You have a nice blue sky with some puffy clouds. The flowers in the foreground add a nice touch, and they're sharp as the kiln. It's a very nice print, and it's very nice color. I scored it 11 points. And this is just personal preference, and it's up to you. I'm out of crop just a little bit off the sky to make those kilns be less in the center of the image. Father Robert scores 10 points. That's really a nice print. It's got good detail. It's well lit. Has a nice background. The pose is very pretty. It's all good, but it's a portrait. And I don't think Father Robert would like being called decrepit, broken, or ruined. And that's why I scored it down. In an open contest, this would have scored very high. Doom and Gloom. It's well composed. The colors are good. It's a nice find. And it does fit the closed category very well. And Doom and Gloom scored 12 points. I can't really think of any way to improve it. There were just some other stronger prints in this closed subject. Honorable mention with 13 points is Abandoned Fishing Boat by Charlotte Hasty. I love this image. I go to the coast myself frequently, and I see these guys laying around, and they're always dying to have their picture taken. It's sharp. It has good depth of field. It's very nice. And it did score at 13 points. The reason it didn't score higher is because the color saturation on it just a little bit too much. That blue in the hull is a little bit too much. But well, we're nitpicking, and when you get this good of a set of prints, you have to. Visions of the Past. Honorable mention, 13 points by Dennis Fritchie. I'm curious about the color on the wood. I don't know why it would be that color. And I thought, well, the whole print's off color. Then I look at the backing of the wallpaper, and it appears to be white. So I'm just going to have to make an assumption that that wood is that color, and I scored it honorable mention and 13 points. It's a nice print, and if you look close, you can see every thread in that backing material. Third place with 14 points is Three Old Clunkers. Composition is super. The car in the foreground has got room to travel in front of it. It's all sharp. Even the top of the mat doesn't cut off the top of the third car. It's a very, very good black and white print. It was taken under some of the worst possible lighting, but still, he pulled it off. And sometimes black and whites can tolerate this high contrast lighting a lot better than color. So it's got 14 points and third place. Second place, also with 14 points, is Abandoned and Forgotten by Danette Volkmer. Boy, this sat in the first place spot for a long time when I've got my prints laid out here. You have to have a really good image to print this large and to hold up, and this one does. You can see all the cracks in the paint on the door. It's well composed, and you can see if you look at the reflections in the glass panes that are left, it looks like this was either early morning or late at night. But I know the light was going away quick on you. It got 14 points. The only thing I can think to improve it is I would have printed it a little bit lighter. I think that white could stand to come up a little bit more. And if you did that, the color in the leaves would pop a little bit. So printed just a little bit lighter, I think would help it. First place and 15 points is Moldy Oldies by Larry Peterberg. I can't think any way to improve it, and if I can't think of a way to improve it, I can't think of a reason not to give it 15 points. It's just an excellent print. The sepia toning, I think, helps it, and it certainly fits the description of the closed subject. Very nice print, and first place, 15 points. This concludes the judging. Thanks for asking me to review your images. I always enjoy doing it, and you have a really nice set of prints here through all 4 classes. And thank you again, and good evening.